Hi everyone, my name is Keely and I'm the owner and creator here at Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another behind the scenes look as we make the embeds for the weekend soap. Today I am going to be making some moustaches. Now I do actually have a moustache mold, but I'm really not very happy with it. So today I'm going to take you along as we make them using some soap dough and show you how you too can create moustaches without using a mold. Let's go! Okay, so the first thing we are going to do for making this soap dough is I'm actually going to add my colorant into my oils. Because mica is dispersible in oil, I find it if I'm only doing a single color soap, I am best to stir in my mica straight away. So I've added that into my oils. I'm going to give that a quick mix to incorporate it. Then I'm going to pour my sodium hydroxide water solution into my oils, mix it up, and then we'll pour it into the mold. So the soap set up and I unmolded it and I have popped it into this bag just to keep the air from it so it doesn't cure anymore, but completes its full saponification process. Now I have got a little bit of a confession to make here, and I'm letting you guys in on it because I want to know if anyone else has experienced the same thing or if I need to be looking for something else. So this is actually the second time I made this black soap dough. The first time I made it, I used exactly the same recipe and I poured it into a loaf mold. So I had this nice big chunk of it. I then went to start making the little moustache embeds and I was really not very happy with the soap dough I got. It is crumbly, it has this real matte look to it, and it is really grainy. I was going to use it because I thought, well, we're making a moustache, it needs to look really rustic and hairy and that sort of thing. But as I was playing with it, I really wasn't happy and I was trying to work out what I did wrong. Was it the colorant? Was it because I put it in a big mold? What was it? At the same time as making this black soap dough, I had also made some white and some brown soap dough for another project, and those two soap doughs came out beautiful and smooth, really nice to work with. So I really couldn't understand why my black had turned out so bad. The only real difference was I had created it as a bigger block. It was bothering me so much. I really sat there thinking, and then I thought the only thing that I actually did differently with my black soap dough was that I actually did it with the heat transfer method, whereas the white and the brown I had used patience. I'd actually set up the oils and lye the night before when I did all my other soaping oils, and then I made the soap as I would normally. The black was kind of like I need to get some black soap dough done. I will use the heat transfer method. And I wondered if that was the problem. So when I made this, as you saw at the beginning of the video, I used the patient way of doing soap and I melted down all my oils and made my lye solution and waited until it came to room temperature. And the texture that I've got from the black is so much better. It's got a shine to it. It is not grainy. It is molding really nice. So anyone else out there that actually makes soap dough, have you found that as well, that to do your soap dough nicely, you really need to be using that sort of patient method of making the soap? Or have some of you made it with the heat transfer method and you've not had a problem with it? Because I'm really curious as to whether that really is the reason why the black, my original black one, hasn't worked, because that will be something I need to consider for all of my future soap doughs. What I'm going to do for now is I am going to break my black dough here into little 5-gram balls. I want all my moustaches to be relatively the same, so I am going that extra step to actually weigh out my soap dough to make sure that I don't have one moustache that's any bigger or any smaller than any of the others. So I'll get all of these broken up into some little 5-gram pieces, and then we will start to actually making them. Do is I'm going to get one of these little 5-gram balls here, and I am going to roll it up into a little ball like so. I'm going to put it between my thumb and my forefinger, and I'm going to gently push down, and with my other thumb and forefinger I'm going to guide it out so it becomes a bit of a teardrop shape. I'm pushing this down so that it becomes to be about, I don't know, between 1/2 centimeter and maybe 3/4 centimeter at the absolute most. I do want them fairly thin, but not so thin that they are too flat. I do actually have a moustache mold that I could have used some melt and pour on, but they're just really thin and lifeless, and I just couldn't get them to come up to look any nicer. What I'm doing now is just shaping the end of that little teardrop into a little curl, and that will become 1/2 of the moustache. So let's grab another little 5-gram piece here. We're going to again roll that into a ball, and rather than just trying to actually shape a left side, I'm just going to do it exactly the same, and then we'll flip it over. So again, between my thumb and my forefinger, pushing it out and using my other thumb and forefinger to actually shape that teardrop shape. I want to try and keep this top end as round as I can and try and keep it looking very similar to that one, but it doesn't have to be completely identical. That one is looking a little bit too elongated, I'm going to say there. So I'm just going to roll that back up and try that again. So between the thumb and forefinger, squish down and form that teardrop shape. And again, squishing it down to about 1/2 centimeter thick here, keeping that end nice and round. That is looking a lot better like that. Just going to squish it a bit more, round that off a bit more, because that one's looking a little bit too squarish. Right, now we've got that general sort of shape. Just gently bending the end of that one up. It's probably not quite the same length, so I'm just going to squish it out flatter, just that little bit more, pushing that end back up a bit more, and that is looking better. So we've got our 2 halves of the moustache here, so they'll actually go together very much like that. I am going to start working on the back first. What I've got is some distilled water in my little cup here. I'm going to paint some of that water onto the edge and use it as a bit of a glue and stick those 2 edges together. I'm actually just going to leave that one to sit up here for now, just so that it can dry, and then we'll start actually pushing the 2 pieces together to make sure that they don't come apart. So I'm going to grab another one of these little 5-gram pieces, again roll it into a ball between the thumb and forefinger and push out into that teardrop shape. Now you can create your moustaches to be any sort of shape that you want. If you can get them even thinner and curlier, you can do those really fancy ones that have the really big curls on them, but I'm just going to keep this one nice and plain and simple because it will make packaging them a lot easier as well. Again into that teardrop shape, and then I'm just going to gently curl that pointier end of the teardrop up to create that classic moustache sort of look. And we'll grab another piece, nice smooth ball there, and again squish it out into that teardrop. It's always harder to make the second half because you so desperately want to make it look very similar to the first one, but the soap dough does have a bit of a mind of its own and tries to go in its own direction. Very hard to get it to be identical. So I try and get them as similar as I possibly can, but I'm not too worried if they are not completely identical. That one is looking pretty good. We'll just smooth out the bottom there because it's looking a bit too squarish. Yep, that one's looking pretty good there. Again, I'm going to get some of that water and then just stick the two together. And I'm just going to let that one rest there for a moment, and we'll come back to those in a bit and we'll do some more. For now, what I'm going to do is get the rest of these rolled and into the shape. To the halfway mark of making these moustaches, and before I get on to the actual rolling of the other half, now that these ones have sat here for a little while, I want to start making sure that they stick together. So I'm going to come back to that very first one I did here, and I have my trusty little toothpick, and on the back here I'm just going to kind of roll that soap together just to make it stick together there so it doesn't actually come apart. And I'm also going to try and roll that soap down in that little crevice in there, and that's just to prevent, as I said, from it actually pulling apart easily. And we'll also do the top. It helps to keep its shape as well, but it does make sure that those two pieces are not going to come apart on us. So that is nicely in, and I'm also going to join the two. So I'm just using my toothpick or my skewer like a little mini rolling pin and just squishing that soap together and making a nice smooth join. But as I said, I still want to keep that sort of divot in the top and the bottom to make it look like a moustache. And then what I'm going to do with the end of my skewer, we might zoom in and I'll do another one so you can see it up close. I'm going to take my skewer and I am going to put lots of little lines on here to make it look like a hairy little moustache. And we're just going to fill it all in. You could go as far as doing the sides and the back as well, but I am going to stick to just doing the front of this one. And we'll do this side as well, and it just gives that little bit more sort of texture to it. These little skewers are really handy for doing this sort of work on. And I usually like to leave it sit here just for a couple of minutes just to firm up in the air, and it just makes it less sticky to actually work with. I am going to come down just a little bit off the edges as well, just to make it look like the hair is sticking off the edge of the little moustache here. Keep going, trying to get the hair to go in the sort of way that it might go if it was a real one. We'll do all the edges up here as well. Just adds that little bit more texture, and that is what our little moustache looks like. Alright, so I'm going to go finish the rest of these moustaches off camera, and then I'm going to go and get the oils ready to make this soap up. If you've enjoyed watching, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. Don't forget to let me know also if you do make soap dough, if you've ever encountered that same problem of your soap going funny when you use the heat transfer method. And if you've got any other questions, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Don't forget to follow along with me on Instagram as well, because I will be posting pictures when this soap is ready and also telling you what this soap is actually going to be for. So until the weekend's video, I hope you have a great week and I will see you then. Bye.